Gregory, tell us a bit about yourself. You were here for 30 years, or you've been here so far for 30 years? 29, okay.
So I was actually in Sydney, Australia, studying medicine. Studied for about 3.5 years. And at university, I was just really good friends with a lot of people from Hong Kong, Singapore, and Malaysia, but mostly from Hong Kong. And I lost interest in medicine and gained a lot of interest in Canto pop and the movies, but mainly Canto pop. And when I failed my examinations in year 3 of medicine, I started repeating, and then I decided I didn't want to do it anymore. So I worked for a year at 4 different jobs and bought a one-way ticket and flew over to Hong Kong in May 31st of 1987.
Okay, so that's
I've been here ever since.
Before the handover, for anybody who doesn't know. The handover was 97.
Yeah,
okay.
87 is a little bit before that.
Okay, I want to pick your brains on what it was like in the handover, but why did you come to Hong Kong in the first place?
It was the Canto pop and my friends. So even at university, I was actually performing Canto pop in competitions, in performances, and I just really liked it. And I was actually a volunteer chauffeur for Alan Tam and Leslie Cheung when they had their concerts in Sydney in 85 and 86.
Who are they? Just because I don't know who they are, I'm sure they won't.
Alan Tam is like today would have to be the #1 singer here in Hong Kong, and he's been singing for years. And Leslie Cheung was also on equal status with Alan Tam for many years, but he died 8, 9, 10 years ago. And in Hong Kong, they are superstars. They are superstars. They're pop stars, huge.
Okay.
And so when they were in Sydney, they were already on their way up in the music industry. They were very close to the top already.
Okay. We were just talking before we went live, because I was just doing some quick fact checking with Gregory on his Wikipedia page, and there's a line, and this is proof that you should never trust Wikipedia, but there's a line here, and Gregory will explain it, but there's a line here that says Rivers adopted the, where is it? The Aussie often says that in Hong Kong he's found America, so I'm thinking, oh, he's discovered actually how Western Hong Kong is, and the perception is that Hong Kong is very Eastern, but this is wrong. It does say citation needed.
It's a really strange statement. It's just so, I don't know where it came from.
It sounds authentic. It sounds like, yeah, you know what, he's
There's some really good authors on the internet, they can create anything. But the closest I can come to it is that I often tell people that I am in Hong Kong as an actor, I am very similar to the Chinese actors in America, where the roles are few and far between, and being able to succeed in the industry is extremely difficult.
Right.
So we're on the same, in the same situation, but just our roles have been reversed. So I'm a Caucasian Aussie in a Chinese entertainment industry, whereas the Chinese in America are in an American entertainment industry.
So that's what Wikipedia means.
I don't know. Maybe he translated it, or he just got the wrong impression, or maybe he's thinking about Brian, because there's one of my friends here. He's from America and he's acting and singing here as well. His name is Brian. He's from America, so maybe they got us confused. Okay. It happens.
Okay.
It happens. Citation needed and rejected. All right.
Right. So that'll be a lesson when it comes to Wikipedia. Yeah. With something that fascinated me when we were writing the title of this scope, I just noticed it. You said the computer was wrong, and that speaks volumes to me about your confidence when it comes to Chinese, because Gregory is like fluent in Cantonese, from my point of view, and you're telling the computer that it's wrong.
That was dictation, and we're in a noisy environment, and so it just picked up the wrong characters that I was saying to it.
But you were writing it?
No, that was before I was writing it.
Oh, okay.
I was dictating to it.
But still, you're still saying computer's wrong. It's pretty good. 9 times out of 10 is pretty good.
Yeah, it's usually 95% correct, yeah.
Okay, well, I'm reading into it. It speaks to me that you are very confident in Cantonese. You get by every day with Cantonese.
Getting by? Yeah, that's an understatement.
Yeah, it is. But what made you want to learn Cantonese? That's quite an investment, and I find it hard.
It's extremely hard.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, it's because I was surrounded by Cantonese-speaking people, and so the first impulse to learn the language was actually it was the music. Listening to Cantopop, I couldn't understand it, but that didn't matter. I just really, really liked it, and so I was reading, listening to the songs and reading the Chinese characters, because the Chinese records come with lyrics. Yeah, they do. And so I would listen and read at the same time, but the second impulse to learn the language was I wanted to show off and impress my friends. And that actually was quite hard, because the language itself is really hard. And back in the 80s, we had linguaphone, and linguaphone was terrible. I tried to learn Japanese with linguaphone, and they were teaching all of the highly respectable terminology, because Japanese has different levels of respect in their language. And so instead of teaching you average chat, casual chatting terminology, they were teaching you all these, like you were going to meet with royalty or something.
They tend to do that though.
I guess they're just worried that you're going to make a mistake in front of the wrong people and get decapitated or something. But
okay.
But in Cantonese, because Cantonese is based on 9 tones. Most of the characters are in 9 tones, and linguaphone had left out the middle, really important tone. So instead of teaching 9, they were teaching 8. And when you're learning the language, you're listening to everything you hear, and you're trying to categorize it all into those tones to see what they're saying. And then when you speak it, you're trying to remember what tone it should be and reproduce it. And so you're missing the middle tone, and it was just really, really bad. And I think it was about 1.5 years, 2 years later, I visited Hong Kong with a friend for about a week. And we found another course in the Swindon bookshop. It was Cantonese in 100 hours, written by, I think it was written by Lau, published in America. But it was just, seriously, by Yale University. I mean, it was just so incredibly accurate. It was just a really great course.
Oh, it was a good thing, okay.
It was really, really good. Yale University's Cantonese is top notch.
Okay, I was thinking maybe something more closer to home would have been better. Okay.
There was a time in my life when I was acting, and I wanted to go into the series with pitch perfect Cantonese, and I'd pick up the script, which is all in Chinese, and then the characters that I wasn't totally sure of, I would look up a dictionary that I had, and then I would go back and learn it all. And then my wife would listen to me and say, no, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. And the dictionary I was using was published by the Hong Kong University. So,
okay.
On the other hand, the course published by the Yale University was just 100% top notch.
So if this book had missed the middle tone,
the book was great, but the linguaphone was missing the middle tone. Yeah.
The linguaphone
it took me
missing,
years to recover from that.
If it was missing that middle tone, is it like when people write an essay and they don't use the letter E? Could you make that equation?
No, I think if you were missing the letters A, E, and O.
Oh, yeah. Right, okay.
Yeah, it was pretty serious.
Right, okay.
Yeah, really, really serious. But one of the things that I was learning from the lessons, but I was also learning. I keep self-examining and trying to work out what's going on. And a recent discovery was that I had always made the assumption that the tones were relative tones. And it didn't occur to me until this year that the tones are actually absolute pitch.
What does that mean?
So when you're working with music and you have a scale of music, from C to C, or C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, you're working in tonal differences, and it's a relative pitch. It's the difference between the tones, right? But you have a friend of mine. He's not relative pitch. He's absolute pitch, and what that means is that he actually remembers and recognizes middle C as 440 hertz. And if the piano is out of tune, he knows straight away, and he gets upset. Well, he gets uncomfortable, not upset, but uncomfortable, because he knows it's wrong. So Cantonese, the tonations are not relative, they're absolute. And the reason I can make that determination is because you ask them, okay, how do you say this character? And they don't need
Who's they?
Hong Kong people.
Right.
They don't need 2 or 3 characters with different pitches to get the relative pitch of that one character. They'll just say the single character, and everybody around them will know exactly which pitch it was and which sound it was. And you can only do that if it's absolute pitch.
Okay.
But nobody will tell you that.
Okay. That's some next level stuff.
I don't know. I think it's probably helpful to know that it's within reason. Everything has to be this pitch, and this pitch, and this pitch. Because basically there are 4 pitches in the language. You've got 9 intonations, but some of them fall, some of them rise, and then others are level. And you've got basically 4 pitches, and there are slight differences depending on the ending of the word. But yeah, it's a complicated language.
Are you who's interested in learning Cantonese from what Gregory is saying?
But they've simplified it because they know that it's complicated, and now at the Chinese University of Hong Kong, they have a language center where I studied Mandarin for a year and a half, and the first floor teaches Cantonese, the second floor teaches Mandarin. They're amazing, but what they did with Cantonese was they simplified it down to 6 intonations.
That helps.
It makes it a lot easier for, if you're talking to a foreigner and you say, well, you want to learn Cantonese, it has 9 intonations, and they go, ooh, bye-bye. And you say, 6? What's only 6?
I'm learning German, and I wish they would simplify the word the.
Yeah.
Because you've got 4 different types of the, and it changes, and you would think, like, if it's a girl, you say the girl, you'd use the feminine the article. It doesn't, it uses neutral. And it's like, can you just make everything have no gender? Right? The gender's already built into the word daughter, which is Tochter. Instead of saying das Tochter. I think if my German's right, no, das Mädchen, sorry.
Italian is a little bit similar.
They got feminine and male, that's it.
Yeah, they don't have neutral though, yeah.
But they have plural as well in German. It's just like, really, can you just make one the, just like the English did? Not saying English is like perfect, but
Hebrew is also quite complicated. They also have male and female, and
some people learn Hebrew.
Me.
Really?
Yeah. So and so you've got the verbs and the nouns and everything has to be the same. The same sexuality or whatever they call it.
What motivates you to learn like Cantonese, which is already hard, and then Hebrew on top of it?
And Japanese. I like to learn languages, but I like to learn languages that are different in nature.
Right, clearly, right, yeah.
So if I'm going to learn...
He's asking how many do you speak?
No, not very well though, so 4, I guess. But I'm too lazy. I should really work harder at it. But if you learn Italian and then you learn Spanish and then you learn French, they're all based on Latin. And they are different, but they're still based on Latin, and they still use ABC alphabets. But if you go for Japanese, it's a mixture of kanji and katakana, and then if you go for Hebrew, they have their own alphabet entirely, so there's no ABCs at all.
Okay.
And Hebrew gets really interesting when they actually the written language for anybody who is familiar with Hebrew is they write the consonants and leave out all of the vowels. And so if you're a learner and you're trying to read Hebrew and you're looking at all this text and you're just wondering, what the hell is this? Where are the vowels? Because they aren't there.
Okay.
And they just leave them out.
Okay. I want to talk about your fame. How did you get into TVB? Because I'm assuming at the beginning you weren't fluent in Cantonese at the beginning, and so
it was
a gradual process to get more jobs.
Before I came to Hong Kong, so I was able to really, really, really basic conversations, and then after Hong Kong it was just exposure and practice, and I was working in a tutoring center for about 3 months before the chance to go into TVB turned up. And so there was probably a fair bit of practice in the learning center as well. So by the time I got into TVB, I already had some basic reading ability and some basic speaking ability. TVB was, I was working in a tutorial center, and one of our teachers came back to school one day and said, hey, I saw this poster, they're looking for a Caucasian who can speak Cantonese at TVB. And I was not confident at all, but it was a chance, to be able to, and acting was never a consideration for me.
Right.
And so I called up the number, and it wasn't TVB, it was a middleman, an independent casting director or something, and he said, no, I said, no acting experience, and my Cantonese is okay, and he said, no, it's all right, you'll be fine. And so he took me into TVB, and I saw the producer, and she pulls out this script, and she finds the one piece of the script that's in English. And she asked me to do it, and I'm sitting there next to her like this, and I'm just so nervous that I don't say anything for about 5 minutes. So she gives up, she starts going back and doing her own stuff, and I just, in my mind, I'm saying, if you don't take this chance, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. And so I look at this, the one paragraph, and he's a policeman, and he's yelling at a subordinate. So, okay, yelling, okay. You know, he's mad, he's yelling. I just got really, really loud and scared the hell out of her. And she hired me because she didn't have a second choice.
Oh, okay.
At the time, I was the only one who had gone in to see her. They actually had a...
You were yelling in Cantonese?
No, it was English.
It was English, that part.
But the rest of the script was in Cantonese.
Okay, so why was that then?
Why was what?
Why was it predominantly Cantonese and then for that one line it's English? Because all I've seen of you on YouTube is you speaking Cantonese.
Yeah,
so I'm
I've
just
done
wondering...
almost zero English dialogue over the years. Because one of my subordinates was actually another Caucasian. So I guess when I was yelling at him, and he was a Caucasian, and so we're both speaking English, and just for that one paragraph. But if I was interacting with anybody else in the series, it was in Cantonese.
Okay, and then Gregory became the go-to guy. After that, the rest is history, as they say.
The other guy who was there, his name was Keith, and he was an amazing actor. He was half Chinese, half American or English, I'm not sure, but he was just really, really good. And the reason they had to look for me was because he already had a part in the series, and they needed two of us, not one.
Right.
And so looked me up. But he was there. I was the go-to guy for all the extra Caucasian parts, and then he left TVB a few years later, and so I became the token Caucasian for everything. And
what kind of parts have you played during your career?
Well, if you think about Hong Kong history, okay, the first thing is that it's not going to be an incidental, accidental role, you know, that like a chef or something. Well, usually not a chef. It would have to be important enough that they think, okay, we can justify paying this guy to come in and do this role. I mean, they weren't paying as much, but more than an extra. So it was, you know, Hong Kong's history, English colony. So it was the policeman, superintendent, the priest,
British,
the missionary.
Would it have been British though? Would you have to play a British Cantonese-speaking person?
Yeah. I guess so, but I didn't have to speak English, so the accent was not a problem.
No, but what I'm trying to say is, like, you're Australian, but do you have to, like,
but they
pretend...
don't refer to that in the series. Yeah, you would... Yeah, but, I mean...
You know, like David Tennant, he's Doctor Who, but he's Scottish, and then he puts on the estuary accent.
Yeah, they're really good, though.
Right?
Yeah, he's really good.
And then he speaks the alien languages in that estuary accent. He doesn't revert to Scottish.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So was it anything like that? So if you're playing a British character, do you have to speak Cantonese as a British person would? I'm probably getting down to like a fine level of granularity that probably doesn't exist.
As long as they can understand it. I mean, he's going to have
they don't care. Okay.
He's going to have a Guaylo's accent on his Cantonese one, no matter what he does, and that's okay as long as they can understand it.
So sorry, I cut you off. So British officer?
Missionary, policeman, priest. There were a couple of series where I was a chef. A doctor just once, I think, in 20 years. I actually worked at TVB for 20 years straight.
Right.
So I probably did about 200 or 250 series
in
that time.
And did you ever play anything that stereotypically Westerners are here for, like an English teacher or a financer or some sort of banker? Did you ever play those parts?
No.
That's kind of...
Okay, because
that's kind of weird.
Yeah, the finance industry is not really interesting on TV.
No, I'm just thinking of, you know, well, you can fit any of those characters into a role.
Sometimes I was the boss.
Okay.
You know, of this international company or somebody's supervisor, but no, not a financier, not a financial professional.
Right.
No, none of those.
Okay. That's interesting though.
What was the other one?
English teacher.
Yeah, that never happened either.
Because that's what we're known for. If I go somewhere, somebody thinks, oh, you work...
You're teaching English. Yeah, people keep asking me, I mean, even today, people keep asking me, why don't you teach English, you know? No, I can't. I actually picked up a TESOL certificate last year, which was really, really hard to pick up.
Right.
But I actually got the certificate, but other than two casual students that I have, I don't teach English. The problem with teaching English is that your time has to be the same on a schedule every week. You know, people don't like it when you keep changing the times because you have to work somewhere else. And so if I was to actually seriously take up English, it would be an admission of failure in the entertainment industry.
Good point.
Is that,
yeah.
So
it's sort of like you're going down level.
You've basically given up on your acting career, because you have to, if you start teaching English even part-time, and you're going to say that Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday is for English and the rest of the week is for acting, it doesn't really work, because when you're doing a movie or when you're doing television, they don't want to work around your schedule. You have to work around theirs.
Yeah. So
China was actually, a director from China was actually asking me to work on a series in Beijing these coming few months, and they couldn't work around my schedule, because I've got another 3 things coming up, and he kept asking me, and he kept thinking I was going to put him off or something, but we've already signed contracts and everything, and I couldn't put him off, and he just couldn't work around me, and so we just had to say bye-bye.
Okay. Have you ever worked in the mainland?
There was one series that I did in Mandarin about 5 or 6 years ago. It was okay.
Okay. You know what I forgot to do?
You know, yellow is really hard to read.
Yeah, but it's Red Sailor's coming into the chat and inviting followers. That's what he's doing. So he's inviting more people who potentially could watch this. And he's Hong Kong local, so I think he knows who you are. but these people here can obviously ask questions without any sort of like, oh my god, I'm stopping Gregory Rivers or Ho Hok Wan in Chinese. These people, and when I mean these, I mean like everybody off camera, anybody off camera. What's it like walking around and people are like, hey, I know who that is. Do they stop you? What is the reaction like?
It's basically what you've just done. You know, it's this bit of a surprise to see me, and a bit of excitement, and but I don't pretend to be a superstar. So right. I don't put on one of those caps or the sunglasses, and it's really funny. It's a bit of a paradox, because in Hong Kong, if you put on a cap and sunglasses, people are actually going to pay more attention to see who you are.
I'm going to tell Captain America that doesn't work. That's what he's doing at his movies. Yeah. And so I'm linking this in, Thomas. So I hope you're still here. But Thomas says, I know what I'm about to ask you is dumb, but why is he so handsome?
It must be the new lens that he just bought today. Jonathan bought a new lens on the camera, so it's one of those smoothie lenses, or one of those Snapchat lenses.
Oh, I hate those lenses.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, I don't. I'm more for the authentic gaze. But so you don't walk around incognito?
No, I don't.
You expose your beauty to everybody.
I would prefer to be myself. It's one of those other things too, that when I go out, I don't put on makeup, I don't pay special attention to my hair or my clothes. I'm wearing shoes that are 10 years old, I don't really care. Because when I go out, I just want to be me, I don't want to be acting when I'm on the road, you know, when I'm on the street. I just want to be me. And,
but can you be you if everyone's stopping you? And
well, it's not that bad. It's a really funny thing. If you pretend to be a superstar, then maybe they will treat you like a superstar, and maybe you'll become really famous, but you're living in a virtual prison.
Right.
Because every time you go out, you get stopped and you can't do anything. And that's not what I want. I'd rather just be one of the people. So when I go out, I get recognized and people ask me for photographs, and that's fine. But we're still friends.
Right.
It's just friendly on a different basis, a different level.
So nothing super dramatic has ever happened to you?
Well, the beginning of the year, after this local media company gave me an award, there were a few weeks where if you're walking down the street and in the space of an hour, I was getting asked to take selfies like 9-10 times in the space of an hour, and that was happening on a regular basis. It's slowed down a bit now, but no, it's not inconvenient. I mean, you know Chow Yun-fat, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's a superstar, and he does the same thing. He just walks down the street.
Yeah, he's always using the MTR, isn't he?
Yeah, and it's the thing. If you don't put on any airs and you just walk down the street like a normal person, then everybody treats you like.
But do you think that would work in America? If you just acted normal, because there's
I remember I was in America. I was studying at acting over there for 3 months, and I walked into the Starbucks shop, and one of the guys from a TV series, is it because it stopped already? But it was one of those comedy police story series, and one of the policemen from the series, he walked into the shop with 2 of his daughters, and everybody's looking at him, and I was looking at him. So people were really, really excited to see him, but nobody was actually walking up to him to ask him for his autograph. I think people were trying to respect his space. Although you could feel that his space was being intruded upon just by people looking at him. And he could feel the pressure, just walking up to pay his money for a Starbucks.
Okay.
And he was feeling the pressure, but yeah, I think in America it could be a little bit hard.
Okay. There's a video of Jim Carrey. You can look at this on YouTube. It's fascinating and it's scary. But he's at the, that big statue of Jesus in Brazil, the one that's over the mountain. He's just sightseeing and he's just pointing his camera at the view, a spectacular view, and then he just does this. And there's hundreds of people pointing their cameras back at him. And he's not trying to attract attention.
Yeah, but how tall is he?
There is that, so he might stick out. But then you're tall.
I'm only 6. I'm just an average 6 foot. I'm shrinking a little bit too. Jim Carrey's a lot taller than that. He's going to stand out in the crowd, and then he's got this huge mouth.
Well, ultimately, he's got that. He's got all these things going for him. But ultimately, I think I'm trying to get down to like a cultural aspect.
But can you imagine Jim Carrey not acting in front of a crowd? He's always going to do something. He's not going to be himself. I mean, he's a little bit like Williams.
Williams?
Robin Williams.
Okay.
When he's in front of a crowd, he's going to be performing for the crowd. Jim Carrey's going to be doing the same thing. He's not going to be himself.
Right.
If there's a crowd, if there's an audience of any kind.
He doesn't look like he's acting. He's just like, oh wow.
He's like, oh wow.
Yeah. But I'm trying to get to like this cultural idea. Do you think maybe like you can act natural without any sort of like serious interruption because of the way people are here?
There's still a different level.
Yeah.
Right. So one of the big superstars here in Hong Kong is Aaron Kwok. He's a singer and actor.
Right.
I mean, if he walked out in the streets, maybe he would cause a lot of problems. Yeah, people would be flocking to him really quickly. I'm not on I'm not even close to that level. I don't even want that level.
Okay.
It's just too inconvenient. So yeah, maybe it's just a different level.
Okay. I want to ask, moving on, I want to ask about, and I forgot to do this at the beginning, Gympy.
Gympy.
I forgot to talk, because Gympy's kind of interesting. We're more cuckoo for the famous in us, and there's some weird music playing in the background, so I think you've got a point about culture when it comes to subtleties. Okay, someone says, possibly, but people do go crazy here, probably even more so. They will leapfrog American.
There are different grades of superstars here, so, and I'm not a superstar, but there are different grades of superstars, so yeah. I mean, if the twins walked onto the street, they would probably get flocked to as well. I wasn't sure.
Was that you?
Was Gregory in the 1990s? It's going
Simon
away.
Yam in Black Cat. Was that you?
That was probably, wow, I don't know. I was in a Simon Yam movie, but I don't think it was Black Cat. It was a different one.
Nicole works in the entertainment industry. That's all I'll say.
Oh, okay.
So she's good with names and places. Gympy, and then talk about Gympy because I found it interesting. You were just giving me an intro before. One, it's obviously isolated, and it's got a story.
We have other cities around us.
It's culturally isolated.
Place.
Yeah, it's a small place.
My grandfather grew pineapples.
And then, could you talk about where you live currently in Hong Kong?
Okay, so Gympy is a really small town, about 20,000 people. Basically dairy farm. When I was growing up, it's changed a bit now, but it was basically dairy farming. And the name Gympy, the Gympy is actually from a bush. It's an Aboriginal word meaning the Gympy bush, which is extremely itchy if you brush up against it. It became infamous in World War II. You can be so itchy that you actually have to bathe in salt water to take the itch away.
You said it killed you.
If you don't take the itch away, it can kill you.
Right.
It can be very, 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 very
from nervous
serious.
shock or something?
I don't know. I've never tried it. So
that means you've never had a saltwater bath as well.
But it's actually, I mean, the city came about not because of the Gympy bush or because of the dairy farming. It came about because of gold mining, and there were still gold mines underneath the city or the town. It's really, really small. It's like one street. You know, the one main street. You can walk the whole main street in about 20 minutes. It's really, really small. These days in Hong Kong, we actually live out on in what we call a village. And the village buildings here are standard, 700 square feet each floor, 3 floors to a building, and they all have this standard format, and we live on the ground floor of one of those buildings. We have 7 dogs at the moment, but we used to have 12. And they live with us, not outside in the yard. We don't really have a yard, so it's a big family in a small place. It's just the way Hong Kong is. But we used to live in a high-rise, So it's really funny because you've got the whole population of Gympy is 20,000 people, and here in Hong Kong there is more than 20,000 people in one single housing estate.
There's probably more than 20,000.
There's probably more than 20,000 upstairs from where we're sitting right now.
Right.
It's just normal in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
It's a little bit hard for people to conceptualize that a guy who grew up in a country town can also be comfortable living in a really dense populated city, but I've never had a problem. I guess I was young when I came over. It didn't affect me.
Okay. And which part of Hong Kong do you live in?
Right now I'm living in Clearwater Bay.
Okay, for those who don't know, Clearwater Bay is on Hong Kong Island. That's where a lot of...
No, it's not.
No, it's not. It's on
Lantau. Repulse Bay.
I always think of Repulse Bay. It's on Lantau Island.
No, it's not. It's not on the island. It's on the mainland.
Oh,
it's just over the mountain range. So
Sai Kung?
Technically, yeah, it's near Sai Kung. So technically, it's in the new territory. It's just over the range.
Right. Okay.
Just a question: can you people actually hear us because the restaurant din is starting to get louder?
Andy had a question for you though. Can you vote in Hong Kong?
Can I vote?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can.
Right. Okay. But you can't vote for the. You can't vote for the chief executive. Nobody can. Okay, they can. Yeah, I thought so.
Oh,
they would say.
Much.
They would just start saying, "No deal."
No, I can. But I think the last vote that we had in the Clearwater Bay area, there was only one elective, so it wasn't any point.
Right. Who's the Sorry, I'm gonna get really geeky now. Who's the councillor for?
Oh, I can't remember.
Oh, okay. Probably some Chinese name. But you would know. I don't know. Luke had a question right at the beginning. He's our Adelaidean. Is that what you call people from Adelaide? Adelaideans? What do you call them? Adelites? Adelaidelites?
Olive people?
Pardon?
Olive people?
Olive people. What's my olive?
They grow olives.
Okay.
In Adelaide.
Okay. There we go. It's okay, Luke. Don't type. He had a question. What is it like living here during the 80s? I'm fascinated by this because I'm trying to recapture some of that history.
Well, the 80s were different to now in that the 80s and now everybody's working hard, but in the 80s everybody was happily working hard because they knew if they worked hard they would earn money, they would be able to invest, and they would have a future. But the people today are working hard because they don't have a choice, and they might even be working longer hours than they were in the 80s. But even that they're working so hard right now, it's almost impossible to make enough money to save money, to buy an apartment. I mean, the prices here for apartments and everything that reacts to the price of property here has just become so expensive. So if you go into a restaurant now and you buy any food, probably 30% of the expense of that food is from the rent. And so the atmosphere here in Hong Kong today from the 80s is just two different things. So people are still busy, but they're not happy anymore. It's just a really, really big difference.
It's interesting you're talking about the work ethic, and for me, one of the biggest sort of things that I'm trying to claw back is a sense of identity and what it was like when the British were here. And that wasn't your go-to. It was about the work ethic.
Yeah, it was about the people. Yeah. I'm not sure, some people like to think that the British had a better way of handling Hong Kong and looking after Hong Kong rather than the Chinese, but I don't think it had anything to do with the British or the Chinese. It's just that the property speculation problem here has become a cancer that's eating out of everything. And it doesn't matter who's in charge of the government, if they don't control the property market, then everything is just going down the drain.
Right.
I mean, I went into Starbucks the other day and I put a post up on Facebook because my cup of coffee cost 44 Hong Kong dollars and it didn't taste good. And you know that a lot of the cost of that coffee was from the rent for the restaurant. And there's a lot of the other thing is, like, for one of our dogs that just had surgery for a slip disc, and the price for that surgery is astronomical. And you've got to understand that a large piece of that cost is from the rent that they're paying for the clinic. And so a lot of people are going to be affected by the high cost of property here in Hong Kong. I mean, schools, students, people working, trying to buy a flat, everything is just all being affected. It's really, really serious.
Okay.
It's just so funny when you look at the newspapers and they say there was this collapse in the property market, and then they put a number on it, it's like 5%. I mean, when does 5% become a collapse in the property market? They're putting words on words.
Overly dramatic?
Overly dramatic because it's not a correction yet. We're not even close.
Okay.
It's very serious. Sorry, guys.
But they are, I mean, just to get, current event, they are saying the rents are dropping. But I find like the trickle down
I think
is slow.
I think the people who make money from the property market are trying to make people think that everything's dropped a lot, and trying to make people think that everything's cheap and that we're getting closer to the bottom, so you should buy now, and then you're basically propping up the market. We're not even close to the bottom of a correction, and personally I think the whole China economy is collapsing, and so the next 1 or 2 years, this is my personal uneducated opinion, the next 1 or 2 years we're going to see huge corrections, not just here in China but also Europe, America. It's going to be an interesting world.
But for those that don't know, a lot of the properties that are being bought are by mainlanders. Well, can I say a lot? But there's enough of them to affect.
And they don't use bank accounts; they use suitcases of cash. I wonder why. Yeah, seriously. The same as if they're buying the apartments in New York City. They walk in with suitcases of cash, and the real estate agents actually have machines to count the cash.
This is an actual documented thing happening in New York.
The New York Times was talking about it earlier this year. Yeah.
Right. Okay, because there are a lot of Chinese buying second homes outside of the mainland. There's an eventual sort of like, well, if China collapses, we're out of here.
Yeah,
that's the thinking.
And also they're trying to find somewhere to invest their money where it won't be affected by China government rules and regulations, oversight.
There's a documentary. I wish I could remember names. I didn't plan on speaking about it, but it's based in Vancouver, and a lot of Chinese are going to Vancouver, buying properties, and all of a sudden this small town is just waff. It's like a second Hong Kong, and it's actually I think their property prices are either on par with Hong Kong or more expensive than Hong Kong now, and it's just ghost towns, large parts of it, because they're buying it and then they don't move in, and then the locals are upset. It's
a newsflash: ghost towns don't work.
No, it doesn't.
People don't live there. There's no value. The value is it's like a multi-tier pyramid system where as long as there are new people coming in to buy, the prices will keep going up or stay where they are. But if people stop coming in to buy and putting new capital into it, it's just going to collapse because nobody wants to be there.
But they're paying for them all. That's one of the big differences.
It's the thing is that the first people to buy these properties are going to push the market up, and everybody's going to think it's a great investment. But the people who come in at the end of the game are going to lose. Because at some point you're going to run out of people who are buying new property. And when you run out of people buying the property, the value is not there anymore. It just drops back down.
Okay.
That's what's going to happen in China. That's what's going to happen over in Canada, in those ghost towns. Doesn't worry me because I'm not one of the investors in that.
Does it? Shanghai Disney just opened recently, and some people are sort of celebrating that it's open because they're saying it means less tourism for Hong Kong.
Really?
Yeah, because it will take away from Hong Kong Disneyland because Shanghai Disney is bigger, and they'll stay closer to Hong Kong.
Who's celebrating that?
Some locals feel
maybe
happy about that.
Maybe 5 or 6 locals.
5 or 6 locals. but there is growing.
You still need the tourism in Hong Kong.
Yeah, you do, but I think.
Need it, yeah.
But then, what is a kind of sustaining level of what is a sustainable level of tourism that doesn't mean like, oh no, it's the end, because they sort of cry about these issues.
No, you have 2 different types of tourism in Hong Kong. You have one where the people actually come here to tour Hong Kong and see Hong Kong and have fun, right? And then you have the other kind of tour where they don't actually come here to see anything. They just come here to buy baby powder, milk powder and pharmaceuticals, and then whisk them all back up to China either for personal use or for a quick profit. It's the second type that Hong Kong people don't like. The people who are renting the shops out to the drug companies and the pharmacies, they're really happy about it, but everybody else is really upset because all of a sudden the restaurants and the local shops are all disappearing. They're all getting replaced by pharmacies, and the prices go up so high that you can't get a cup of Hong Kong tea for $15 anymore. It costs $20 or $25 a cup, and that's what they're unhappy about. But you still need the first type of tourist who's actually here to see things and have fun and maybe buy the occasional, souvenir. Yeah, you definitely need those. It's just the second type that's, the only people who really benefit from the second type of tourist is the real estate agent, the property owners. Really.
Yeah, I think it was a South China Morning Post article, and they were saying that what is there to do in Hong Kong if you're local? Because all the big events, all the big things, the Buddha, Disneyland, Ocean Park, it's all set up for outsiders. And so I'm putting two and two together. The article didn't do this, but it's just the feeling, the sentiment I'm getting from Hong Kong people and other articles. And then this SCMP article saying that Disney's going to suffer. And it's like, well,
Disney will suffer because.
But then how much does that affect local people? Because Disney's over there on a separate island.
It doesn't really. Oh, well, actually, I mean, if the number of tourists coming from China drops, then Hong Kong people who are interested in going to Hong Kong Disneyland will probably be happy. Because you go into the park, you don't have to line up for 3 hours for one ride.
There is that benefit, yeah.
Yeah, because 3 hours is a long time to stand in line. I mean, it's just amazing that you can make so much money by forcing people to just stand in line for so long in the heat. It's really amazing. But maybe they're happy about that, but otherwise it's not going to affect Hong Kong people very much at all.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, that's your opinion.
Well, I mean, Hong Kong government is a 40% or 50% owner of Disneyland, and
is it? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the percentage is, but they are shareholder.
Right.
So they can not make as much money as they were before, and it's going to affect their income, but it's not going to really affect Hong Kong people on the whole. But I mean, I have heard limited reports from people who have heard about the Shanghai Disneyland, and they said that this looks ugly.
Yeah.
So what might happen is that it depends, because the Shanghai Disneyland has a China theme that was forced upon them. The Chinese might really like it. Yeah, China mainland Chinese might really like it and just really attract to it and go, well, this is China, yay, and maybe it'll be super popular. Or maybe they'll go there and think, oh, this is ugly. Don't know what this is. Is this China or is it American? I'm not sure what it is. Don't like it anymore. Maybe they'll come back to the Hong Kong Disneyland in 3 or 4 years. I don't know.
Okay. Kenron's asked a question. He's asking a question here, and then we can go back to talking about the history of Hong Kong again. So I feel like we jumped up.
Because I know so much about the history of Hong Kong. Right.
Well, I wish I lived here. I did live here in the 80s. I came here in 81.
The handover was very nervous.
Very what?
Very nervous. Very nervous, yeah.
Okay. Ken's question is, what is Mr. Rivers' advice to young actors asking for my son?
Asking what?
He's asking, what advice would you give a young actor? He's asking for his son.
Oh, for his son?
Yeah.
I think it's really hard. It doesn't matter what country you're in, your chance of actually... making a living, your chances of making a living from acting are very small. Your chances of becoming a superstar are almost zero. So really, if he wants to become an actor, he has to be dedicated. He has to be prepared to basically be a poor person for quite a long time. And at the same time be trying to improve his acting skills, and then he's got to wait for the opportunity and hope that it turns up. And it's just a really long struggle. And he's going to need his family support, because for the most part he won't be able to support himself. It's really hard. If you're singing or acting, it's the same thing. When the internet, when you had television affected the acting industry, because every town had their own acting troupe. And when television eventuated, then you didn't need those acting troupes in each town, because you just had one television station and people went to the television station. Then you got movie cinemas, and they kind of contracted it as well. And then you've got the internet, and the whole world is watching the same batch of actors.
Yeah.
It's watching the same 100 or 200 actors from America or from China.
It's not diversifying in a way, is it?
Nobody is getting. There are no increases in work opportunities, because they're all concentrating. Everybody's going for the same actors. So if he wants to be an actor, it's great, but he has to be prepared to work for a long time. and hope that he actually makes it. Yeah, I can't happily tell everybody to go, well, yeah, you should be an actor, great stuff, yeah, go, you'll be fine. Because I mean, if you can do it, it's great. I mean, we love our work. It's really, really hard. You're working 12 hours, 13, 14 hours if you're on a movie set. And that could be day after day after day. But we love it. But it can be pretty hard to get there anyway. So he's got to really, really like it if he wants to do it.
Are you still acting now?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. This year is really amazing because they gave me this really unexpected award in January, and I was averaging a major job every 2 or 3 years because I'm a Caucasian in a China place. And then after the award, the jobs just started popping up one after another. So this year, I've got 2 Chinese operas. They use the old style Cantonese singing on stage.
Did they paint your face white in these operas?
No, I'm still a Caucasian.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just basic Caucasian.
I was wondering how
makeup.
traditional it is.
Well, no, everybody else is completely 100% traditional, but the Caucasian is still Caucasian.
Okay.
So we did one in April. There's another one coming up in September, and then I was dubbing the main Caucasian actor for a new cartoon movie that's coming out in August. And then I'm working on a TV series with RTHK. We've got 12 episodes. And then there's another movie that I might be working on in Malaysia. There's also a dance production, stage production that we'll be working on in August. That's coming out at the end of August. So all these things are different, and I will never be an expert at any of them, but it's just a lot of fun and a lot of work to try and just do the best you can on each of these productions. But you get to try really, really different things, and it's just amazing.
Okay.
Some people ask, oh, so you're an overnight success? A success? Overnight success? Yeah, if overnight means 30 years.
Okay. But the other roles, you said you're doing RTHK, TVB.
Well, you see, something changed because when I was at TVB, it was always the supervisor or the policeman or somebody who had some control over other people, a supervisory role. And then after 2 years ago, a friend of mine asked me to act for this movie, and I was none of those things. I was a forcibly retired financial consultant who lost his job and lost everything, and he was renting a room from another family in this old dilapidated building that the developers wanted to buy back and rebuild. And that was one of the first roles that people suddenly realized that the guy didn't have to be serious, me, and he didn't have to be a supervisory role, he could just be an ordinary guy. And so then there was a magazine cover where it was actually really, really funny and the people were completely surprised. And so this year a lot of the roles are just normal things, they're not supervisors, they're not policemen. So the RTHK series, I'm a van driver. So I grew up in Hong Kong and I have a van, and I just ship things around for people who want to put stuff in this mini storage unit.
A white van man.
A white van man. There's actually a white minivan driver in Saikong. So, I mean, really, a Caucasian in Hong Kong could be any role that he wanted to be, because you can be anything you want. It's just that the script writers haven't thought about it, and they just made the assumption that a van driver has to be a local. He's going to be a local Chinese,
right,
not a Caucasian, but he can actually be anything.
But that would have been more common in the 80s.
Not really. No? You mean the van driver?
Yeah, all the general layman sort of jobs.
No, other way around.
I was
because back in the 80s,
more focused now.
Back in the 80s, all the Caucasians who were living here, the Caucasians living here were, working with international corporations, and they're all in supervisory roles and making really amazing money. They were all privileged. And then you had very few people, other than the tourists who were coming through and passing through, you had very few people who were just normal people.
Okay, I would have thought like more construction projects were handled by British or Western, no?
You had British companies running the construction companies, but they were running them, and the Chinese were doing all the work.
Right. Yeah. I saw something. I should have stopped her, and I wish I did now.
We're going to go back and stop it now? All right.
I've got a question parked in my head from Mindy, and then I've got to talk about this. But I was just coming back from the shops, and I saw a white female construction worker building the new Guangzhou to Hong Kong rail link, and I should have stopped her because that is very uncommon. I've only ever seen 2 construction workers that were white. One of them was her, the other one was white male, which seems kind of like to go with the territory. There was female.
I'm pretty sure the construction is run by an English company.
Yeah, but she is the first white person I've seen, the second white person I've seen in 4 years operating on that train station, and I should have stopped her because one, it's not a typical job for a woman. Not to sound sexist, but right, it's just one of those occupations that are either not encouraged or they don't want to do it personally for personal reasons. And then there she is going on her break, and I should have stopped her. But I always thought in the 80s there were just more people here doing layman's jobs from the West.
No.
Right. Okay. Okay, you dispelled that myth. The myth that I had in my mind. Mindy's question was, what role are you proud of the most?
I think there are a couple, but I think the role that I was just talking about, the one from the retired financial consultant who had no money left and no family and was living in a dilapidated building. The movie is called Get Out of Here, and that would have to be my most favourite role. Unfortunately, because it's a locally produced movie, when we showed it in the cinemas, they had to cut it down to 90 minutes. And so there was a lot of really effective scenes and acting that was cut out of the final movie. We actually filmed 2.5 hours of content. So even if you cut it down to say 1 hour and 50 minutes or 1 hour and 45 minutes, it would have been a lot better than what it is now. I mean, you would have seen a lot more. But that was a great character. Because one of the things about that character was at the beginning, middle and end, he's different. Because the situation has changed from him, for him, from the beginning to the middle to the end. Things change, and so he changes. And it's a really amazing role. I had to put on 20 pounds for that
You had to do like a Christian Bale.
I don't know, did he do that?
Yeah, he lost loads of weight for The Machinist,
yeah.
And then he gained loads of weight for the first Batman movie.
Gaining weight is easy, losing it is really, really hard.
Okay, so it's a bit of method acting. Is that the closest you got to method acting?
No, it's not method acting.
Yeah. Well, what do you call it when you actually lose body weight for a role?
Method acting is something totally different. But
I'm thinking of what's his name, like the guy from what's that film? The guy I know who does the gangsters films. He did Taxi, the director of Taxi,
yeah.
And he did the other one where the King Gangs of New York.
I know the guy with the meat cleaver. I can't remember.
He played Abraham Lincoln. He's a method actor, isn't he? He's the Irish guy.
Well, Abraham's wife.
Somebody tell me in the chat.
Flying Nun.
Don't know that.
You don't know the Flying Nun?
No.
Where are you from?
I'm from a land of ignorance.
Which is Iceland?
Britain.
Okay, yeah, so The Flying Nun was an American TV series from the 70s, I think.
I had The Flying Doctors, the Australian.
No, The Flying Nun was a bit of a comedy series. It was
Daniel Day-Lewis, there we go. He's a method actor, I'm getting confused.
Yeah, well, the lady from The Flying Nun, when she was doing The Flying Nun, she was actually fully trained actress. And when she was doing The Flying Nun, she was really, really unhappy. Sally Fields.
Okay.
She was really, really unhappy because
people know here.
Because she couldn't use any of her training in the series, because the series was just what do they call it? Flack comic. She was really, really unhappy and depressed. She actually gained a lot of weight while she was filming the series because she was depressed.
Okay.
But she did Abraham Lincoln, the movie. She was his wife, maybe what, 2 or 3 years ago? And
in the Daniel Day-Lewis version?
I don't know, was it Daniel Day-Lewis? But she is 100% method. She had the full traditional training. The training with, what was his name again? I'm trying to remember the name of the teacher. But in those days it was 3, 4, 5 years of full-time rigorous training to get this method down, and the method is being able to train your body to relive memories, actually relive the memories, re-experience the memories, and then take the emotions from those memories and put them into your acting at that moment. And it takes a lot of training. It's not something you can just tell somebody to do it and go and do it. It's not just remembering. You have to re-experience the memory, and she has it. And there aren't many. And it's an art form that's going to slowly disappear because it takes so much work to develop, really develop, and people these days don't have that much time.
Right.
They don't have the patience. They want to become a star tomorrow. They don't want to wait 4 or 5 years and then go out acting and see what happens. They want to, let's do a 2 or 3 year course at university, become an actor, and come out and be famous. They want to be quick.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay. Maybe.
So yeah. So it's not what you're talking method acting. No, it's not method
No.
acting.
So something like
that's
what?
Just getting away.
Okay, just getting away. But what about is method acting like when Robert Downey Jr. plays a white guy who's pretending to be a black dude in a Vietnam movie?
That's really complicated.
Right.
Yeah. Don't ask me to do that. I couldn't handle that. That'd be really complicated.
He stays in character throughout.
One of the things that I have to keep reminding myself is that if you've got this role and the role is pretending to be something else, you have to determine if he's pretending convincingly or is pretending that so badly that people know he's pretending, and then you have to work out which version you want for the movie or for the television series. It can get quite complicated, but if you're talking about this, pretending to be a white man who's a black man, that's too complicated.
Part of the joke,
the best actors in the world are not actors. You know that, right?
What are they?
No, the best actors in the world would have to be politicians and policemen. Undercover policemen have to be the best actors in the world because they can't be detected, right? That's a really hard job.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We're mediocre compared to...
It's life or death, literally, for them.
It's life or death for them. They make a mistake and they're gone.
Undercover CIA agents. Holman had a question for you.
Yeah, he said CIA. He didn't say, what do you call it, MI6 and MI7? I mean, you're from England, right?
Yeah,
he said CIA.
Because I'm just full of Americanism. And most of my audience is American, so if I say British stuff, it just won't slide. Right, just won't go with it. He asked, are there many white people working in the industry in Hong Kong?
I know all of them. So there aren't many. I can count them on one hand. So we have a young girl here, youngish. She grew up here. She's the daughter of missionary parents. Because she grew up here, her Cantonese is 100% native. There's no accent, there's no delay, there's nothing. She's Chamberlain, and her surname is Chamberlain. On the male side, we have Brian, who's from, I think he's from Utah in America. He's from America, I think he's from Utah. So Brian. And then there's another guy, an Indian guy who grew up here, Keel Bobo. They call him Bobo. He grew up here, so he's Cantonese, he's native and 100%. And then there's another guy from England, Barry Cox. He's similar to me that he actually liked to sing canto pop before he came over here, and he actually won a singing competition in England before he came over here to Hong Kong to act and sing. He's also a martial arts expert. He's really amazing. He's a really hard worker. Brian's also a hard worker. I'm relatively lazy. Brian and Barry are just super hard workers. So Barry's working on martial arts, singing and acting all at the same time. Brian's working on guitar, singing, acting, Chinese opera. Really hard workers. There used to be another actor here, John Wakefield, and he's actually a friend of mine, and he just got out of the business a long time ago, and since then he's become a professor of linguistics at one of the universities here. So he has amazing Cantonese as well. He can probably teach you a lot more about Cantonese than I can.
Okay. We have like 5 minutes left. Do any of you have questions for Gregory? Is there salary parity for male? Whoa.
Is there what?
Is the pay equal for male and females?
Actually, there are probably some situations where the females, if you're at the top level of actors in Hong Kong, the males are probably making more money than the females. But if you're under the top level, there are going to be females who are making more than the males simply because they're attractive. So if they're attractive and they know how to act, they're actually worth a lot of money. People would rather see a really pretty girl on screen than a guy.
It's like porn. The women get paid more, but their shelf life is shorter.
No, one of the actresses here in Hong Kong, she was at TVB.
I missed that one. Could you type it again?
She's been around forever, and she's also dedicated, extremely hardworking. I'm trying to remember what her English name would be, but in Chinese her name is Sima. So she's been around forever, and she looks after herself, and she doesn't have a short shelf life. She's been around for a long time.
Bad comparison to me.
Bad comparison to me.
How come, I'd like to ask by the way, how come no one gave me a single heart for swatting that mosquito? No one made a comment and no one gave me a heart.
Any chance Johnson could get an acting role?
He's pretty good. Right, this is how we met actually, because I was doing a coffee time in TKO Mall and I saw Gregory.
I was watching him.
He was watching me,
and he'd go, "Oh, okay, why is this guy looking at me?"
And I looked, and there was this.
And I smiled at him, and he thought, "Okay, what's wrong?"
He was smiling over me, and so I just looked, and then I concentrated back on the camera, and then afterwards Gregory approached me, and I couldn't understand what's the context behind this.
Why is he coming over? Why is he talking to me?
Yeah,
complete stranger.
And it was like so out of left field because I hadn't clocked that you were the. Well, I probably couldn't remember, but I couldn't understand how was this going to go because I didn't know what you wanted.
Why was I walking over him? Okay, what did I want?
Yeah, and no one ever approaches me.
But then the guy is just so professional, with his telephone and his iPad and his microphone and tripod, and I mean.
Well, I'm sure you've seen more professional things.
I was watching for 5 minutes. I already knew he was a professional, so I had to go over and say hi.
Well, the thing is,
it's one of my things is that if I see a professional, doesn't matter what field he's in, but if I see the professional, recognize him as a professional, I'm going to try and talk to him.
Right.
Or her.
Okay. But this is like live streaming. I was wearing the worst T-shirt I have.
It doesn't matter.
To me, it does because people say I'm a good actor.
Action matters more than what you're wearing.
I would say I'm not a good actor. I would say I'm performing for the camera. I'm a good performer. Maybe speaking to an actor, you might say, well, there's no difference. I don't know. What's your opinion? But I don't think I'm an actor. I think I can perform for an audience and riff off the comments. But can I do stand-up? I don't think I can. My observational comedy wouldn't allow me to go more than for 1 minute. But here, because I've got more comments coming in, I could riff off them. I was doing it this morning.
It's different.
It's very different, and to actually act as well.
We're getting forced into a situation now because of social media that we actually have to be able to do both. So we have to be able to act in movies and television, whatever. But we also have to be able to perform when we're looking at an audience, whether it's on screen or off screen. It's different.
Right.
There can be actually a lot of actors are bad performers.
Okay.
It's a different skill set.
Have you got an example?
Bad performers?
Yeah.
Not off the top of my head.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not trying to catch you out. I'm just
trying to catch me out. All right.
I'm just genuinely trying to think. Oh yeah, okay. I can see what you mean. Yeah.
It's actually even harder now because the online world, especially in Hong Kong, in Asia, is more of a friendly, having fun kind of atmosphere, and so you can't be serious and you can't be too depressing, and so it's actually becoming even harder. And if you don't have anything to say and you can't be funny, it's just not super funny, but a little bit interesting and humorous. It's the end.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to end it there because Gregory's going to go in 2 minutes. I would like to have you back on at some point. There's more topics I have in mind we didn't touch on. A little bit more nostalgia, a little bit about TV politics and how it relates to the actual local politics of the region.
At least here in Hong Kong, TV is dead.
TV is dead?
Dead.
Is that because of Asia TV dying?
No, it's because social internet media has already taken over. So most of the people here in Hong Kong are not watching the local TV stations anymore. They're watching TV series from Korea, from Japan, from America, and you've already had this merging and convergence of online television or video and the traditional TVs. It's just no, traditional TV's dead.
Okay.
Yeah. as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. Where can people find you on the internet?
Well, the biggest place, the easiest place to find would be Facebook. So if you just go to Facebook and look for Gregory.Wing, he's going to type it in later for you.
Yeah, it'll be on my YouTube video.
Yeah.
Have you acted in anything Australian? Okay, Luke slipping in a little question at the end.
No. I'm not even sure if I'm a good enough actor to do that. I don't know.
Unless they need a token white guy who speaks Cantonese.
Yeah, that almost happened once. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That almost happened once. Yeah.
Mantis, was you asking me that question about YouTube, or was you asking Gregory? Because Gregory, you have a YouTube channel. Or is it someone
but there's
doing
nothing on it.
Nothing on it.
Yeah,
because
I'm
I've
not
seen
active
loads
like you. All of my stuff goes to Facebook.
Oh, okay. But if you do go to Facebook, okay, Gregory, type Gregory Rivers. Sorry. I don't know why I have Rogers in my head.
You won't find Rivers.
Won't find Rivers.
No, you won't find Rivers. Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It worked for him, so it might work for you.
And you'll see show reels of various like snippets.
Oh, that's on YouTube.
Yeah.
Oh, YouTube. Yeah.
You'll find various like little tastes of what Gregory has done in the roles of various white people.
The first one was like, wow, 10 years ago. Yeah, a while ago. Yeah.
Okay. So, do you have Twitter? Do you do Twitter?
No, not really.
Okay, so it's just Facebook.
There's a Twitter channel, but it just gets copied over from Instagram. So.
Okay, you have an Instagram.
I have an Instagram.
What's your Instagram? Do you have any behind-the-scenes set footage?
No.
Don't bother.
Yeah, don't bother. No worry.
What do you photograph about? Very quickly, since you've got to go.
What, the Instagram or the?
Yeah, what's your Instagram about?
It's just things that are happening. I mean, the cup of coffee that was too expensive. And,
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I'm not one of the best Instagrammers. I have a couple of friends who are really, really good. Every day, a new photograph, really happy and interesting, really cool.
Okay, so go to Gregory's Instagram or follow whoever he's following.
Yeah, but my Instagram is HOKWing_HK. But anyway, HOKWOKWING_HK.
HOKWing.
Yeah.
Yeah. HOKWing. Okay. There we go. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.